Is it positive? Is it negative? Can there be a shift? Can there be a change? Can there be a damage? Can it be hurting? Hi everyone again. This is Stente and I'm here again to share a really nice podcast. Hopefully you will enjoy it. And it is, how is it to take someone into consideration? Because this thing just comes over and over and over again. And many people complain, women, also men, do sort of complain about the fact that they don't feel taken into consideration. But then the question is like, how do we do this practically? How is it actually really working to take someone into consideration? Is it just sometimes just to think about someone and then that's it? I took you into consideration, but I'm still sharing this or sharing that. So, in my view, and this is something I've been practicing myself in my own relationship, and where I have been a little bit challenged as well with that. So I've experienced it myself to maybe not take someone into consideration or not being taken into consideration. So I've experienced both sides. And this is why today I really want to share this with you, and hopefully this can give you some insight and also something that you can practically do in your life. It's not just something that is shared as a beautiful emotional feeling sharing, but it's also something that you can sort of rationalize and also use it in practice. So when we usually speak about taking someone into consideration, it's a lot about feelings and emotions. So we're in front of a decision or an act or a scenario, and it is sort of expected from us to take our partner into consideration. However, it is not always working well, or our partner is not always feeling being taken into consideration. And sometimes it's not something that it is intentionally done, it's just unconsciously done. So let's start from the position where we are intentionally good. So we really are trying to take someone into consideration, but it's still not working. And for some reason, it doesn't reach. So we are in front of a scenario where a person would love to be included. Our partner is not physically there, but she wants to feel included whenever it comes to a sharing about what just happened. So, for example, I have a very simple and easy to understand scenario where it's so common to take someone into consideration, and you probably already have experienced it, but you might not be completely aware of different ways of how to take someone into consideration. So imagine a scenario: you are at the gym and you have a woman who is interested in you, and she's approaching you, or there is a conversation and there is a flirting happening. So how would you know that you don't want to keep going with it or that you want to keep going with it? And there is where the taking into consideration happens. Because the taking into consideration is happening on three levels. One level is you're taking her, your wife, your girlfriend into consideration. The other one, you're taking the us into consideration, which means the relationship you have with your wife or partner. And the other one, and not less important, is you take yourself into consideration. So that's the scenario. We're there, and there is a flirting happening or an interest shown by a third person, a woman in this case, into you, and you're a man. You can also be a woman, doesn't really matter, but for me, I'm so used to talk to men that I usually, yeah, always think about men listening to this podcast. But let's say that's the scenario. And the first thing we do is, and there is no order, okay? Even though I shared it in one order, there is no order. I will just start with taking her into consideration because this is basically the title of the podcast. So let's start with her. How would my partner feel if this person is flirting with me and I decide to flirt back? We're not even in the scenario where she's inviting us for a drink. We're just about a flirting moment. So you're taking her already into consideration at the very first step of the flirting scenario. How would she feel if I'm flirting with this girl? She started flirting, but how would it be for her, for my partner, to see or to know that I'm flirting back? And you will probably have a very quick reply on that because you know your partner. And even though you might not know her, we have a natural capacity to generate empathy and understanding, and we also can see ourselves in that situation, even though maybe she is fine with it that you flirt, and she is like, yeah, I'm totally fine. And maybe you, in that same scenario, you would not be fine. So even though you don't know her, you don't know if she's really open or not, but you have your own information. So you can check with your own experience, how would you feel if you were your partner and she is flirting? So that's also in the same questioning of taking someone into consideration. You're projecting yourself in her position, or you're taking her as someone you already really know because you have been many years together and you already have this information to reply on that question. So that's the very first thing I would do. How does she feel about it? Then I would go to the next one. Let's say if she's sort of open or sort of okay, and she said like, yeah, it depends on how it is. And she leaves that question open. You don't really know if she's open to you flirting with someone just as a game or not. It's not clear yet. So the next question can be, how would this affect the us as a relationship? And that's a different type of question. That's a different type of taking into consideration because you're not only taking her feelings into consideration, you're also taking yours. And there's also something that you have as a responsibility for a relationship, which I love to call the us. It's where two people meet and create something called the us. It's not about you, it's not about her, it's about the us now. So ask yourself that. How would this affect the us? How would it be for the us? Is it positive? Is it negative? Can there be a shift? Can there be a change? Can there be a damage? Can it be hurting? And so on. And then for last, but not least, it is take yourself into consideration. Now imagine you're in an unfair relationship. Are you not feeling good in your relationship? And you take her into consideration, you take your partner into consideration, and you say, you come up with, yeah, she will be angry. She will not like it. She probably will be angry. And then you take into the us. It probably will not be that good. But then you go into checking with yourself and you realize, like, how would you feel with this? And then you realize, well, if I don't flirt with her or I don't let this happening, I might be losing an opportunity because my relationship, the us, is not healthy for me. And on top of this, she, my partner, is not fair because I'm not allowed to flirt with someone, but she is, and she does it, and she has done it. So you check with yourself. And watch out here. We're not trying to go into revenge scenarios. This is not what we're doing. Don't go there. That is definitely unhealthy. Because what you can come out is you check the us and you make sure that you make a proper decision that is healthy at every moment for the us or for your partner or for yourself. Now in this scenario we have a case where the relationship is maybe not working very well, right? And that becomes really challenging to really take yourself into consideration because you don't want to be a pleaser. Because if your partner is unfair and your us is unhealthy, you should not be there, right? You should not give that to yourself. This is not an act of self love, being in a toxic relationship. But when you go and check with yourself, should I start flirting with this girl? This might be my future wife, my future partner. Should I go? Or should I sacrifice myself and not go? Because when I take my partner into consideration, she will be angry. So I'm fearing that consequence. Or when I take the us, it will add even more toxicity. So you become a victim of your decision, right? This is a little bit of, it's sort of a little of doom scenario that we're creating here. But look how important it is to take it into consideration. Because if you really are in that scenario and you choose to not take you into consideration, means that you're not giving yourself value enough. You will not feel worth it. And you will become a slave of toxicity and a toxic relationship. Now, if we are in a really positive relationship and you check with yourself and you're like, how would I feel to flirt with this woman? And then suddenly you realize, well, I don't really need it. I don't see why I should flirt with this woman because I'm not, maybe not attracted to her, or maybe she is really beautiful. She's, yeah, awakening this heat inside of my body. But I'm so in love with my partner. I'm so in love with our relationship that it doesn't make any sense to me. I actually feel my body reacting, closing. And maybe, yes, we are maybe horny and we feel our genitals reacting, but our heart is saying no. Then you know. It's a no. It's very simple. You're taking care of the us and you're taking care of your partner because you're taking her into consideration in every single moment. And you know the best, you're also including you. So you're not excluding any part in that decision. You don't exclude her as your partner. You don't exclude your relationship as us. And you don't exclude yourself. So as you can see, this is a very easy scenario. It's sort of clear when this happens. We're so used to those scenarios. However, scenario can change and can be more challenging. And it's not about having it right. It's not about being fearing doing something wrong. It's just about creating the habit to take someone into consideration. And then it becomes easier to make decisions. And also, imagine this. Whenever you have your partner at some point after this scenario checking in with you and suddenly you share this and she says, oh, I don't feel taken into consideration. And you say, wait, hold on a second. Let me share this. And you start sharing like, look, I felt this. And then I start checking into you. I really took you into consideration. And then I did this. And then I did this. And you start explaining. And maybe then she realized like, wow, he did took me into consideration. Even though the outcome is not the best. But that's how it goes. That's how humans are. We cannot please everyone. It just cannot happen. But we're doing the effort, and this is an act of love to take everyone into consideration. And we could expand this even further. And I have a very small example. I've experienced it myself. And this happens a lot in messaging when you're sending a long audio in a very early morning or in a very late evening. It doesn't matter, but the timing is a bit weird and it feels weird for the person that receives it. And maybe it's a long audio where maybe you had a big insight and you wanted to share it with your partner. And you send that audio and it's just an audio. So the person cannot know. The person has to listen to the entire audio before knowing what it's about. But sometimes you have some woman in what I can share that has this mechanism of, whoa, expecting the worst. What happened right now? Is he going to leave me? Is he going to say something that I did wrong? Is this going to be something that's going to hurt me? It's going to be painful, etc., etc., etc. So what I do is when I have this really nice insight or a nice experience that I had and I want to share it, and it took me 8 minutes to send an audio, I add after the audio, I add a little text. I hope you love this insight. So she knows already that it's an insight. But what am I doing here? Is this about the audio? It's not about the audio. It's not even about this text. It's that I went through the process of taking her into consideration. So I took her into consideration by asking myself, how would she feel when she received at 6 o'clock in the morning, in the middle of the night, an audio of 8 minutes? Ah, she might enter in a story. So I will add a little text so that she, before she start even listening to this audio, she can already calm down and she can calm her mind. And there is no need to initiate, and there's where I'm checking with the us, a pattern in this relationship where audios has to be a process of entering in the unknown and panic moments. Even if it's in a microdosing, this can change your relationship and the way how you relate to someone. So I really hope this practical thing can help you. It has helped me a lot, and I've shared it with my partner. And now we understand each other so well, and we know how to take each other into consideration, and this avoids a lot of stories. So I really hope this is going to be helpful for you and for your partner, for any friendship, for anything that you want or anybody that you want to take into consideration. And I just send it out there for you to share it with whoever you want. And I just hope it's generating the effect that I would love it to generate. So thank you very much for listening. If you really enjoy this content, I would also appreciate you to follow me wherever you can follow me, subscribe wherever you can subscribe, and why not giving some comments, giving, or maybe even sending a message. It just feels really nice to receive this feedback. And yeah, there's not much more that I can add as just give me some proof that you really enjoy this content so that I can keep on going and I can really understand, like, yes, this is what you like, so I can keep on creating this type of content. And if it's good for you, if it's a yes, just let me know. And I really hope to see you again, even though I don't really see you, but I really hope that you listen to the next podcast. Thank you very much.